So, I popped into High House Insurance to see if they could quote for my house insurance rather than using the internet. High House got a great deal. So to celebrate, I bought a posh hairdo. It made me look beautiful, gorgeous enough to become a highly paid model. I then won Celebrity Big Brother. I had an affair with an MP. Now I'm promoting a doll of me that says, "Cool blimey, you're well fit."
Happy things happen when you talk face-to-face with High House Insurance. See if we can beat your home insurance quote from the internet. Find us on the High Street, Selsey, or call 606 552.
Hello and a very warm welcome to Manhood Internet Radio. I'm Tony Weiner, your host for this show. We have a very busy programme for you again, which starts with Alison's roundup of events in the area, although no mention of Doris, I notice. We then find out about the Selsey Bridge, which isn't quite what you might think it is, but more later. Keith Barnes will put your minds at rest with the answers to last week's quiz, and then something very close to my heart, he talks to Joe Saville about the Selsey Blue Plaques. That is followed by an item on those magnificent car shows we often see at East Beach, and then we go to Keith's kitchen to see what delectables he's rustling up before it's thinking cap time again. So then, no fake news on our station, and without further ado, let's find out what is going on in the area.
Hello and welcome once again to our weekly look at what's going on in Selsey and on the Manhood Peninsula wider afield. Let's have a look first of all at the town itself. On Wednesday the 22nd of February we kick off with the Model Boat Club. Weather permitting, they'll meet down at East Beach Pond between 10 and 12. And then in the evening on Wednesday, Carpet Bowls, that's at Medbury Primary School on School Lane. They start at 7 and finish at 8. And then running alongside that in the High Street, the Selsey Community Choir practice at the Methodist Hall between 7:30 and 8:30 in the evening. On Thursday the 23rd of February, we've got the Mobile Play Soft Session between 10 and 11:30. That's held at the Selsey Centre and it's for the under fives. If you're interested in that one, you do need to speak to Sue or Tom. They can be contacted on 604 642. Later in the afternoon, Mixed Ability Bridge will be happening at the Selsey Club on Cox's Road. That's between 2 and 5. Keith is the contact for that. He's on 603 082, or you could try Carol on 602250. Carpet Bowls again on Thursday between 7 and 8. Once again, that's at Medbury Primary School on School Lane. And then at 7:15, it's time for the Manhood Trefoil Guild. They meet at the Selsey Centre. They're having their whist drive this week. Also on Thursday evening, it's the Film Club. That's held at the Selsey Town Hall. This week, the film is The Girl on the Train. That starts at 7:30 in the evening. Tickets are £5 each. You can either get them at the door or you can book them online, www.selseycinemaclub.wordpress.com. Now the film this week is right up to date. It's a 2016 American release which is described as a mystery thriller drama, and I've got a short resume here of what happens. Rachel, devastated by her recent divorce, spends her daily commute fantasising about the seemingly perfect couple who live in a house that her train passes every day. But one morning she sees something shocking happen there, and she becomes entangled in the mystery there that unfolds. That's based on Paula Hawkins' best-selling novel. So if you want a good view on Thursday, go along to the cinema club. If you're looking for something a little more energetic on a Thursday, there's always adult kickboxing at the Selsey Centre between 8 and 9 o'clock. And then on Friday the 24th of February, Beginner's Bridge will be taking place at the Selsey Club on Cox's Road. We're promised a friendly atmosphere with a gentle teacher. It's Keith once again you need to speak to, 603 082, or Carol again, 602250. And Beginner's Bridge will start at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and will end at 4. Also between 2 and 4, it's the Darby and Joan Club. They meet at St Peter's Church Hall. And then between 2 and 3:30 in the afternoon, it's time for mindful music making. That takes place at the shop on High Street, Selsey. If you're interested in that, you need to speak to Anna, 07912 609 437. I'll read that number again. 07912 609 437. That's for mindful music making. Also in the afternoon, it's the U3A monthly meeting at the Selsey Centre. This month, they're having Dr. Alexandra Loska coming to speak on George IV and his giraffe. So there's a really intriguing title for the U3A monthly meeting. That one starts at 2:30 in the afternoon and finishes at 4:30. On Saturday, as every week, we have the Venture Bus Garage sale and also the Scouts charity sale, both of those taking place in this spring weather. We've also got a tabletop sale at the Methodist Church between 9:30 and 1. If you're interested in booking a table, you need to ring 601 439. Later on Saturday in the evening, Seikos are having a fundraiser. They're having a race night and fish and chip supper. It's going to start at 7 and finish at 9. £12 entrance fee with a licence bar. That's taking place at the Town Hall. You can buy tickets from High House Insurance, 606 552, or you can contact Seikos themselves, www.seikos.org.uk/tickets. Then on Sunday the 26th of February, between 9:30 in the morning and 4:30 in the afternoon, there's an artist's wildlife painting workshop. That's going to take place at the RSPB at Pagham Harbour. And this workshop promises to give an introduction to the basic techniques of watercolour painting, combining a little bit of theory with a lot of practical application and advice. The session is aimed at beginners and those people who might be returning to an old hobby. You'll find that the good quality paints, paper and brushes that you need will be supplied. All you have to bring is yourself and some enthusiasm, but you do have to book. £20 a person or £16 if you're an RSPB member. Also on Saturday, carpet bowls again from 9:30 until 10:30, once again at the Medmary Primary School on School Lane. And something else going on at Pagham Harbour, someone to guide you. Between 11 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the afternoon, friendly guides will be at the Ferry Pool Hyde on Pagham Harbour to help you spot and identify the wildlife that you see. Now this one is free, so do drop in to see what you can see from the Hyde. In the afternoon, between 3 and 4:30, it will be time for the Respite Tea, this time held at Selsey Methodist Church on the High Street. And in the afternoon, between 3 and 4, carpet bowls once again at Medmary Primary School in School Lane. So that's about it for now. Let's have a look at the weather. Wednesday the 22nd, 54 degrees Fahrenheit or 12 degrees centigrade. Thick cloud cover, I'm afraid, and a 23 mile an hour wind, west-southwesterly. On Thursday the 23rd, 52 degrees Fahrenheit, slightly lower, 11 degrees Celsius. Light rain showers, 29 mile an hour wind. That's the top speed this week, and that will be a westerly. On Friday the 24th, we can expect a high of 8 degrees Celsius or 46 degrees Fahrenheit, so a little bit colder. Sunny intervals though, and a north-northwesterly 11 miles an hour. On Saturday the 25th, a high of 10 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees Fahrenheit, light rain. A 21 mile an hour south-southwesterly wind to accompany that. On Sunday the 26th, a high of 52 degrees Fahrenheit or 11 Celsius, light cloud cover again, 17 miles an hour wind this time, a southwesterly. Monday the 27th will bring high of 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 10 degrees Celsius, with light rain showers, 16 mile an hour wind speed, south-southwesterly. And on Tuesday the 28th, same sort of temperatures, 10 or 50, this time with sunny intervals, 15 mile an hour wind speed, west-southwesterly. And the tides, if you're thinking of venturing down to the seafront, on Wednesday the 23rd, we can expect a high at 5 to 9 in the morning and a low at 5 past 3 in the afternoon. That will change, of course, don't forget, throughout the week, ending on Tuesday the 28th with a high at 12:25 lunchtime and a low in the evening at 6:15. Now let's move over to the other side of the peninsula and see what's happening in the Witterings and Bracklesham. Let's have a look at their special events first of all, and then I'll move on to their regular events. On Wednesday the 22nd of February, there's a ukulele jam, and all uke players will be extremely welcome. That's held at Bracklesham Barn between 7 and 10. On Friday the 24th, the South Coast Networking 11s meeting will be taking place, would you believe it, at 11 o'clock. They do promise to finish by 12:30, and that's held at Harbour Way Country Club. On Tuesday the 28th of February, there's meet and greet at West Wittering Memorial Hall for coffee, games, homemade soup and a roll. That's between 10:15 and 1 o'clock. In the afternoon, Bracklesham Barn hosts Strength and Balance between 2:30 and 3:30. No other details on that one, I'm afraid. And then in the afternoon, between 3:30 and 4:30, Up for Dance for boys, junior dance at Bracklesham Barn, and then at 4:30 till 5:30, Up for Dance Mishmash for all juniors, again at Bracklesham Barn. Let's have a reminder now of the regular events. Every Wednesday, of course, it's table tennis, drop in and play for the adults at Bracklesham Barn between 10 and 12. And then it's also CBT motorcycle training at Bracklesham Barn between 9 and 11. Don't forget you do need to pre-book for that one. Belly dancing with Step Inside at the barn between 1 and 2. Then there's a break before 6:30 to 7:30 Zumba with Louise. And in the evening, line dancing takes place at the Royal British Legion between 7 and 9, and all are very welcome to go to that one. On Thursdays, it's time for the Busy Bugs Toddler Gym. That's held at Bracklesham Barn between 9:15 and 12:15. Then there's Stitch and Yarn at the Witterings Medical Centre between 10:30 and 12:30. And there's also Knit and Natter. They knit and natter at East Wittering Library between 11 and 12:30. Wittering's Master Art Group also meets on Thursdays between 10 and 12 at West Wittering Memorial Hall. And then after lunch at East Wittering Village Hall, there's a Keep Fit exercise class. That one begins at 2 and finishes at 3. Also on Thursdays, West Wittering Short Mat Bowls takes place. 2 sessions there, one between 10 and 12, and the second one between 2 and 4. That's at West Wittering Memorial Hall. If you're interested, why not call Chris on 07788 111 325. So that's Chris on 07788 11 1325. Mixed Ability Pilates takes place at East Wittering Village Hall between 6 and 7. That's followed by Private Ballroom and Latin, again at East Wittering Village Hall. That one starts at 7. If you want to book for that, you do need to have a look online, www.strictlydancinguk.co.uk. And there's the Junior Youth Club at the Youth Centre between 5 and 6:30. That's for children aged 8 to 12. And the seniors, 12 to 17s, meet at the Youth Centre between 6:30 and 8:30. And at Pond Barn, it's open mic night on a Thursday. That kicks off at 8 in the evening. Every Friday at Bracklesham Barn, it's Pilates. That starts at 9:30 and finishes at 10:30. And then in the afternoon, again at the barn, it's short mat bowls between 2 and 4. At East Wittering Village Hall on a Friday, Coastliners line dancing takes place between 2 and 5. And then between 5 and 9 at Bracklesham Barn, it's the UK Film Academy. At Pond Barn, it's Jukebox Night on a Friday between 7 and midnight. And there's Private Ballroom and Latin at 7 o'clock in the evening at East Wittering Village Hall. Same address to book for, www.strictlydancinguk.co.uk. On Sundays at Bracklesham Barn, it's the Windrush Church. They have their meeting between 10:30 and 12:45. And in the evenings, on Sundays, at East Wittering Village Hall, there's Modern Jive Dancing. That starts at 7:30 and finishes at 9. And then at Pond Barn, it's time for the quiz night. That one starts at 8 o'clock. On Mondays at Bracklesham Barn, Little Ducklings have their mother and toddler group between 9:30 and 11:30. And it's short mat bowls on a Monday at Bracklesham Barn between 10:30 and 1. Weight Watchers will be helping you to lose weight on Monday at East Wittering Village Hall. That one starts at 5:30. And also at East Wittering Village Hall later on, line dancing between 7 and 10. Then at Bracklesham Barn in the evening, yoga with Elaine between 7 and 8:30. And there's ARO Ladies Beginners Kickboxing with Verity between 7:30 and 8:30. I don't know when the beginners cease to be beginners, but here we are in February and we're still talking about beginners. Every Tuesday in the barn, Little Explorers have their play and learn together between 9:30 and 11. And then at West Wittering Memorial Hall on a Tuesday, meet and greet. You can meet for coffee, games, homemade soup and a roll between 10:15 and 1 o'clock. In the barn at Bracklesham, yoga with Elaine takes place between 10 and 11. And then in the afternoon at East Wittering Village Hall, there's a Keep Fit exercise class. That one starts at 2 o'clock and finishes at 3. At Bracklesham Barn in the afternoon, Tai Chi takes place between 4 and 5. And then in the evening on a Tuesday, it's the Community Pop Choir. They meet at West Wittering Memorial Hall between 7 and 9. And back at Bracklesham Barn, the Badminton Club play between 7:30 and 9:30. And at Pond Barn, it's free pool. So there we are, plenty to be going on with for this half-term week. Hope you find lots to do and that the weather is kind to you, and I'll speak to you again next week. Bye for now.
Thank you, Alison. Now let's find out what this Selsey Bridge thing is.
With me now, I've got Mike Nichols, and Mike's going to update us on things that are happening down at the bridge. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. Nice to be with you again, Keith. So for those who may be new listeners, the Bridge Youth Support Centre, situated behind the library in School Lane next door to the Academy Secondary School, operates during the week, serving the young people of Selsey and also quite a lot of families in different aspects of our support. Just two particular things that are going on at the moment which may be of interest to listeners. The first is that because the number of staff and volunteers continues to grow as the need grows that we're trying to meet, we've just appointed a new human resources manager. Her name is Kim Long, and after a period in local government, she's now a mature university student, and for 2 days a week she's now helping us with all the things that you need to run a good operation in terms of policies and things of that kind, and we're already benefiting from her organisational skill. I guess the second thing is that we recently, through the Youth Dream charity, were able to secure the status of being a recognised provider, an approved provider, I think is the right term, by the County Council and the NHS to deliver mental health and emotional wellbeing services to young people. And as part of that development, we've been running a series of evening groups, workshops around the mental health needs that young people face. Some of those can be pretty serious conditions involving self-harm and eating disorders and so on. Last night we were dealing with a very simple topic of exam nerves and how to stop the anxiety, and learning about what it does to the brain, and it stops the memory and so on, and just learning a few techniques for helping parents not to nag too much in order to get the best kind of outcomes. And that's an ongoing series that is open to anyone on a Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock. I think the interesting thing about the session taken by a mental health professional was that because everyone is an individual, there's really no right or wrong way of, preparing for an exam or supporting someone through an exam process, because everyone is different. So you can have those that need a lot of encouragement or nagging, you might call it, and it does them good. There are others for whom it creates just a sense of panic, and then they can't do their best because they can't access the memory, and it was quite illuminating in that kind of way.
To put it in sort of context, my eldest grandson is one of these lads that can sit exams and do well in them without even trying. You know, and so if he gets a detention, and he's had one or two at school, you know, there's not many kids that don't, I guess, nowadays, and if he gets nagged by his mum and dad about, you know, not doing his homework and stuff like that, but then when it comes to the examinations, he does extremely well without doing too much homework, without seeming to apply himself.
Yeah.
He's very lucky that he can get through the exams and come out with the results without really trying.
Yeah, and I mean, that's an example, isn't it? A lovely example of how individual people are. We were learning last night about, you know, others who, if they are corrected in some way, perhaps in a mock exam, they convince themselves that they're rubbish at exams, and so begin to dismiss the whole process. So they kind of think, oh, I won't bother, when they actually would be perfectly capable of, you know, passing something and using it as a stepping stone to college.
Yeah.
And that went on to sort of talk about the whole thing about young people and their sense of self-esteem and self-worth, you know, and how if you don't have a basic sense of that self-worth, then you don't value yourself and you don't value other people. And with another group of young people that we've been working with, we did something that we've not done before. We actually invited their parents to write them a letter telling them all the good qualities that they've got. And it was actually one of the best things we've ever done. It was really moving, and you could see the young people just growing in a sense of value because they were being focused on and told the good qualities that they had. And we even asked one or two of the teachers to do it, and they cooperated too. So it was good exercise in building up young people and their sense of self-worth.
Well, I always think we're extremely lucky to have the bridge, because I see what goes on with my two grandsons, and they don't live in this area, sadly. I think really the people who are affected by what's going on at the bridge, I'm not sure that they appreciate fully how lucky they are. Or people in, you know, with children of school age in Selsey, I don't think they fully appreciate how important the bridge is and what it's doing. And you know, I think they perhaps need to have a look at what goes on there.
Yeah, I mean, I think we value the partnership work that we do with people like Selsey Works and the organisations like the Scouts and Snack Shack and so on. What we try and contribute, I think, at the bridge is a focus on some of the deeper issues that young people face, and particularly giving support to those who perhaps dropped out the system. So, you know, we help young people who are not in school at the moment for various reasons, those who've entered that sort of post-16 age but haven't gone to college, or they've dropped out and so on. So it's really trying partly to support those who need particular help. And I think running, as we do now, quite a lot of parenting programs, we actually are able to link up school life, home life, and the young person, and bring all the factors to bear in trying to support them for their future. Yesterday we had what we call a funders visit from some of the trustees of what's called the Sussex Community Foundation, who give grants to local charities across Sussex. And 4 of them came and just sat down with us for an hour, and we shared some of the stories and so on. And when you actually talk about what goes on, it's amazing how many lives are affected and how many people are, you know, supported in that kind of way.
Indeed. Well, thanks for coming in and upgrading us up,
Thanks for having me.
Mike, and you know, letting people know what the bridge does, because I'm sure, like myself, when I first heard of it, didn't have a clue what it did. But then I don't have children at school, so I may be forgiven. But it's good to get it out there and let people know what goes on and the good work that you do. And thanks once again for coming and enlightening us.
Thank you, gentlemen. Great work there. It's answer time now, so here is Keith.
And here's what you've been waiting for all week: the answers to last week's Kevin's Connections quiz. And Kevin asked us, which English castle in the Royal Collection Trust is the oldest and largest occupied castle in the world? That is, of course, Windsor Castle. In which Italian city is St Mark's Square with its very expensive cafes? That's Venice. What is the capital city of Greece? That's Athens. Which Scandinavian country's flag is a white cross on a red background, and it's the oldest continually used flag in the world? And that was, of course, Denmark. And which Italian city is an anagram of Avon, E-R? That's Verona. And the connection is, they're all part of Shakespeare play titles. Merchant of Venice, Merry Wives of Windsor, Three Gentlemen of Verona, Timon of Athens, and the Denmark one, of course, is Hamlet. Well, that's a little bit tougher this week, but I'm sure they'll get harder, knowing Kevin. Look forward to the next one.
Excellent. Now something about the fascinating history of Selsey.
With me in the studio now, I've got Joe Saville, and Joe's going to be telling us a little bit about the Selsey Heritage Trail and the blue plaques. Good morning, Joe.
Morning, Keith.
Now, Selsey Heritage Trail. I was trouble saying that. So, Selsey Heritage Trail, Joe, tell us a bit about it.
Well, the initial idea was from Selsey Regeneration, and the blue plaque scheme was coordinated by Kim Leslie from the West Sussex Records Centre, and he's sort of coordinated it for the whole of West Sussex. And the idea was to have a trail specifically for Selsey. So in 2002, the first phase of the Heritage Trail was launched with 5 plaques, and there was another plaque which was already there, which was to Eric Coates. And since then, it's been extended to 11 plaques, which we've got in place now. And basically, they record significant people, places and events in Selsey.
Right, well, I noticed, I've noticed some of them as I've gone around, and some of them you see pretty much every day if you're walking about. The one for Colin Pullinger and the mouse traps we see regularly pretty much every time you stop at the traffic lights outside the town hall. And also the ones along East Beach, Eric Coates and the Mulberry Harbour project. We see those around as well. But I believe there are actually 12 listed, although one of them I have my own opinion on, which is the listening post. And I think my own opinion of that is that people would tend not to take the blue plaque situation seriously if that place has a blue plaque, because it's an eyesore, but there might be history to it, but it is an eyesore. But that's my own opinion, my own personal opinion. I'm sure there are others that share it and some that don't. But blue plaques generally are just a little hint of the history behind a building or a person. And there are some on the list that are not quite so well known, certainly not to me. I know there is RAF Selsey, and a good many people would perhaps have heard about RAF Selsey and its the part that it played during the war. But there's also one for RC Sheriff. Now, what can you tell us about RC Sheriff?
Well, just before I speak about RC Sheriff, just about the listening post. I mean, I think the problem with that is it doesn't look much at the moment, but unfortunately the history there is hidden. So it's not very obvious what the history is. So it has got it is a very significant history, but it's hidden at the moment.
It does lead me to a question that what's the criteria for gaining a blue plaque? Because from what I understand from the listening post in particular, is that the listening post itself, the actual dish, will be concealed inside the building. Now, if that building is not open to the public, then the blue plaque really is an absolute total waste of time, because it's okay having a blue plaque to say so-and-so lived here. That's arguable, but history would perhaps prove that so-and-so lived there. But to say that there's something inside a building that's not visible to anybody seems to me to be, you could put a blue plaque on the side of my house and say, inside here there's a space station. Nobody's ever going to come in to find out if it's true or not.
Well, the criteria for it really, in some sense, that's up to the Heritage Trail coordinators, but it's in case where it's got local or national significance. That's why it would have a blue plaque. So it's got to have those things. And the acoustic mirror inside the listening post does have both of those things. And I suppose I would beg to differ on that point, in that you can put a plaque there because a person used to live there. You're not going to see the person, you're not going to see any evidence of that person, but it still recognises that place. And hopefully there will be an opportunity for people to go inside if they asked, to go actually and see the mirror. So that would be my hope.
Yeah, I mean, that was the question, or the point that I was trying to get to was, if it was open to the public, even only on certain days of the year, but if it was open to the public, then there's proof there. I can see why it would warrant a blue plaque. But if it's something that's concealed inside a building and people can't get in there to see it, well, it really doesn't mean a lot, does it? A building having been, the residence of a particular person, I can understand, because, if somebody died in that building in 1862, they're not going to be there now, are they, hopefully? But history and it could be documented that person lived in that house. But to say that the house contains something, who knows? Because the person that's living there might have actually disposed of what was in there. It's always a possibility.
Yeah.
The point I was trying to reach was, is there some regular checkup that if there's a blue plaque on something like that actually still does remain?
I would imagine, yeah. I mean, if the acoustic mirror was taken out or destroyed, then obviously you couldn't have the blue plaque remaining on there, because it wouldn't be there, would it?
Who would know?
Yeah,
this is the point.
That would be something certainly, which would be checked on. I mean, people have been in there and seen the acoustic mirror to check that it is all in place.
Oh, I've no
it's all
doubt
preserved
that it
and
is,
everything.
but I'm just
so,
saying.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. That yes, I mean, those things would need to be kept to check on. And as I say, hopefully, certain selected people would be allowed, if asked, to go and have a look at the mirror.
Yeah.
Maybe it would be open on something like they have Heritage Open Days, which are a national event, and maybe that would be a good opportunity.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I just wanted to sort of clarify that there was some follow-up to issuing a blue plaque to make sure that the situation remains as stated, if you like, on the blue plaque.
Yeah, I mean, normally things don't change much, do you know what I mean, in terms of the event. But in terms of sort of if, obviously, it might happen where a house was actually demolished, do you know what I mean? Well, there we are, there'd be, the blue plaque would go sort of thing, or if there are major alterations to things. Yes, I mean, obviously that's an important thing.
Now, back to R.C. Sheriff,
Yeah.
one that I didn't know particularly well. What can you tell us about R.C. Sheriff?
Well, this was very interesting because it took me an awful lot of research, because I knew that R.C. Sheriff wrote the very important World War I play, of national significance, Journey's End, and it was said that he wrote it in Selsey, in various sort of articles and things, but it wasn't really very sort of clear about that. But he did come and stay with his mother in Selsey for a lot of his holidays. He lived away in Surrey. And then, I sort of found a part in sort of one of his, I think it was a biography or an autobiography, where he said that he started the play Journey's End while on holiday. And I also tracked down some letters about him. So then we identified the house in Manor Road where he wrote the play. So basically that house is sort of recognised, because we can't be sure how much the play he wrote there, but he would have written some of the play there in that house.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's fine. There's documentation to prove
Absolutely,
that he resided there in some form or another, and the chances are that he'd written some of the play while he was there. So
yes,
There are others. Medbury Mill is one that I didn't know about, but there are several here that I didn't know about, or still don't know about.
Yeah.
Medbury Mill was another one. Edward Heron Allen is another one.
Yeah, now Edward Heron Allen, I mean, he was incredibly important person, in the village. I mean, his house, Large Acres, was a major house in the village. I mean, there isn't anything there, but you've obviously got the road Large Acres there with the new housing on there. And what we've really, where the plaque is, that sort of marks where the entrance to his house would have been there. He bought the site in 1906 and lived there for the rest of his life. The house was named after the ancient field where it stood. He was a close friend of Oscar Wilde, so he was of the day, he was a very important celebrity.
Absolutely.
Many from high society and celebrities visited him, and really, he was a scholar of international fame. He had his finger in lots and lots of pies, and you'll see that if you look at the plaque. I mean, one of the, I suppose, in terms of Selsey, if you go into the library, you'll see his book about Selsey and about the fossils he collected. I mean, that's one of the things that you'll notice. A huge book, Selsey, Historic and Prehistoric, and he catalogued a lot of the fossils. He collected fossils, he catalogued them. So he did a lot of work on the early history of Selsey. But he was also an accomplished musician, and he did many, many other things.
You see, now I didn't know. I've heard mention of Large Acres. I've only lived here 10 years, but I heard much mention of Large Acres and the house, but not so much of the resident, as it were.
Well, it would be very interesting if you could actually get hold of a guest list of who stayed at the house, because I think you'd find there were some incredibly important people who stayed at the house.
Wonderful. So if anybody wants to follow that up, they can try and get hold of the guest list, and they can see just how important Edward Heron Allen was. Now, moving on to the Gibbet Field. Now, this one I have heard about, but I guess a lot of people may not have done.
Yeah, the Gibbet Field, I mean, that's got a rather grisly sort of story behind it. And it's all about some local smugglers. And they were local to here, but actually the event took place in Poole, where they were members of the notorious gang, the Hawkhurst gang at that time. And they actually raided the Poole Custom House to recover their contraband, which had been taken by the customs officers. Now, following this raid, 2 men were murdered by the gang to stop them informing on them. And then in the end they were captured, and as a result 7 gang members were tried and executed in Chichester. And the 2 Selsey people, or actually one I think from one from Siddlesham and one from Bursted.
They're a bad lot in Siddlesham.
The 2 who were the 2 who were local to Selsey, as I say, from Siddlesham and Bursted, they were executed in Chichester, and they were exhibited on high ground, hanging from a gibbet, just off the... Well, actually, it was in a field, which was Wad Gibbet Field, but when we analysed it, Kim Leslie and I, we found that most of that field is now in the sea. Where the actual plaque is just the last bit of that field which still exists, which is basically on the beach. But and that was a sign to others, not to go smuggling.
Bring back the gibbet, that's what I say. And finally, Teddy Donaldson. Now, he was another very well known in his field, as it were.
He was absolutely, I mean, amazing sort of family, because 3 of the Donaldson brothers were highly decorated pilots during the Second World War. They were all awarded the DSOs. And Teddy's was for leading a squadron at Dunkirk. He was shot down 9 times in the Battle of Britain.
Cool, I bet he didn't do the lottery, did he? Luck like that.
And he still claimed 11 enemy planes, according to records. But perhaps more importantly, he's recognised that he broke the world airspeed record in 1946. So that's probably where he's more recognised, not so recognised, possibly, for his wartime service there.
A very brave man, certainly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Certainly deserves a blue plaque.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming in and talking to us and enlightening us about these, Joe. As I say, I think there are 12 dotted about, 11 if we don't include the one for the...
listening post not in place yet.
Not in place yet. But the history behind any one of them, really, if you're interested in local history, the history behind any one of them warrants looking into and delving into a bit deeper.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, it's not ending here, hopefully there are more sites being identified. I mean, one obvious one is Sir Patrick Moore, that's one I'm investigating at the moment.
Yes, I've seen lots of questions being asked about what's going to be done about a tribute to Patrick Moore, a statue or what have you. And of course, in modern day, he probably is the most well-known person ever to come out of Selsey.
Yeah, absolutely, and incredibly generous man. I remember him showing me the night sky through his telescopes myself when I was a young lad. So, there's that personal, attachment to it as well. Yeah. So that's certainly one we'd be looking to do.
And of course, there's the most recent one, which we nearly forgot, were the one for the pavilion for the old cinema that Ellisburg opened or unveiled recently.
Yes, that's right. That makes it sort of a real 12 now. Yes, I mean that was one that we've been wanting to do for a long time, because obviously that recognises its place at the centre of the community, not only as a cinema but also as a hall, a gathering place. It's been used for lots of things over the years. I remember all the pantomimes we used to have, and it really was the centre of the community, a very, very important space. Yeah, and that was unveiled by Ellisburg just very recently at the beginning of January. And and it's fantastic that that's now been recognised, and there obviously are now plans for the ongoing sort of restoration of the cinema to bring it back to the centre of the community.
Yes, I know Jeff, the owner, and certainly Neil Kimber have been putting an awful lot of work into to get it going forward and get it being used again by the community, and I wish them very much success for that, because hopefully it will be fully functional once again in the not too distant future for everybody to use, and once again become the heart of the community.
Yes, no, I certainly, I've offered help as much as I can to do that, because that's really important to me. And again, I've got a personal sort of connection. I remember watching films there when I was 8, 9, 10, and it was a very important place.
Yes, I can imagine. Well, I'm glad we didn't forget that one, Joe. We remembered it at the last minute, I remembered it at the last minute. Well, thanks once again for coming in and talking to us about this, Joe, and I'm sure it'll raise people's interest in what goes on, because there's the little blue plaques, as I say, just a little pointer to the fact that there's a bit of history there, and I would urge people to pick one and then go and follow it up. It makes very interesting reading.
No, absolutely, so would I, and thank you for the opportunity.
No problem at all. Thanks again, Joe.
Thank you, gentlemen. For your diary, the Selsey Walking and Outdoor Festival will be giving a guided tour around many of those blue plaques we heard about, as well as other historical sites in the Selsey area, and they will be giving presentations which will bring much of that history to life. That takes place at 2 p.m. on Thursday the 1st of June, and details of this and other great events can be found on their website at swof.co.uk, swof.co.uk, at Selsey Walking and Outdoor Festival, SWOF. Okay then, another bit of history as we let Keith out on his vintage bike to talk to the organisers of classic car shows we see regularly at East Beach Selsey.
And today I'm braving the elements down at East Beach Car Park to attend the Manhood Classic Car Club's regular monthly meet. And I have to say there's a fabulous array of cars around, and I'm going to try and find one of the organisers to have a chat to in a minute. I'm looking for a gentleman called Les Payne, and I'm going to see if I can get a sit in his car. Now, I know you're a very busy man at this moment, Les, so I'll try not to make it last too long. If we could just have a sit in your car and we can have a chat about what's going on today. And a good turnout, if I may say, Les.
Yeah, I think we've got about 50 here already. We do the third Sunday in the month throughout the year, and February is usually quiet, so it's a good number. The sun was out yesterday, so as I say, we've got about 50, and as the next couple of hours progress, we get a few more. We only do it 10 till about 12:30. And there's catering down here at East Beach in the toilet, so it's facilities. We've been running Manhood Classic Cars now since 2010, and myself, Les Payne and Mick Hemmings started it back in October 2010, actually here on the East Beach Car Park. But as things built up and numbers built up, we got the Citizen Football Club with catering, and we spent the best part of 6 years there. We lost the catering there, so we've now moved back to the East Beach Car Park, as I say, third Sunday in every month throughout the year, and we get as many as 90 cars when the sun's out, and it's great, informal meet. This membership is free, we just put a coin in the pot, and that keeps the running costs going. And we attend numerous events throughout the year, and we produce a leaflet, and everyone's welcome. We don't exclude anybody. It's modern classics. We're happy for people to come along with their modern classics. And my own car is an old 1947 Humber Super Snipe. It's one of 7 in the world, quite rare.
And that's the one we're sitting in at the moment.
This is the one we're sitting in at the moment as we speak. And it spends its life in Scotland, and the Humber Club didn't know it existed. But every now and again, these cars come on the market, and we all enjoy each other's company. And it's a good event. Everyone's welcome to come along. Third Sunday in every month throughout the year.
Well, I've had a good number of what I now deem to be classic cars in my time. Unfortunately, they weren't classics when I had them. But I had a Humber Hawk, 1957, I believe that was. An Austin A40 Farina.
Great.
Oh, no, Austin A35. 1937 Morris 8. So I've had a few in my time. As I say, when I had them, I was a teenager, and my first ever car was a 1937 Morris 8.
Excellent.
Which I bought off a guy that had toured Europe in it.
Yes.
And he came back, and I bought it off him. And never forget it, I paid 20 quid for it. Wow. It was a lot of money then, but it was nearly a couple of weeks' wages.
Yeah.
But 20 quid. And unfortunately, of course, I used to try and keep up with my mates that had Austin Cambridges and the odd Mini and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the sad part was, it never really was built to keep up with those, and it never cornered anywhere near as well. It used to sort of jump round the corners, sideways.
This is the great memories we have, and it brings back an era and a time when we were younger, and things we did with our cars and friends, and it invokes those memories for people. And I think that's why people come along to see us here. We're getting a good turnout of people coming into the show today, and it's working out very well for us.
Now, Manhood Classic Car Club, is it a club as such? And can people join it if they want it?
Yeah, it's free and informal. We're fully insured as a car club now. The donations just keep our running costs. As I say, it's free and informal. We got motorcycles. One's just come in now, a lovely Triumph Bonneville.
I just saw that.
As I say, that some are old, some are newer, but they invoke memories for us. But it's free, it's informal, and all are welcome.
And I have to say, there's a wonderful turnout of various cars. I'm just looking out the windows now and looking at, I don't know what it is that's next to me. It's a left-hand drive red monster. But
it's a Chevrolet American pickup. It's been customised. It's not terrifically old, but it's a real individual's car. The guy's had murals done on the side, and he comes from Hayling. We get people come from all around West Sussex, Hampshire, Surrey, East Sussex, and I mean today someone come up with their Land Rover from St Leonard's, and we meet different people each time, and there's a great turnout.
And there's a Ford Capri out there that I can see. There's a Rover V8, I think.
That's right. There's a V8, 1972 Rover.
There's another American
Corvette.
Monster Corvette behind that.
Chevrolet Corvette.
There's a tremendous turnout of cars. There really is. Now, if anybody wants more information about the car club, Les, or the meets, how do they get the information? Have you got a website they can go to?
There's a website. It's manhoodclassiccars.com. And if you contact us there, you'll see what we do and the events throughout the year. Or you could call us up. I'm a Selsey guy, and a local number, which is 01243 606096. Be glad to chat to you about what we do and bring your cars along.
Well, great stuff. Well, I'm going to get out now. I'm going to have a wander around and see if I can talk to a few people. Thanks for taking your time, Les, because I know you're a busy man. And I'll catch up with you again later on.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Al.
Thank you.
And Les was absolutely right. There turned out to be about 70 cars, and that's cars on show, not cars just turning up to have a look. So it was a great morning out. Good couple of hours spent. I had a chat with a few people. Very, very interesting. They seem to know every inch of the car and and every nut and bolt on it. And always just so happy to talk to you. And if you consider how many times they must tell how many people the same thing, and they never lose the enthusiasm for it. And like Les said, if you want to find out more information about Manhood Classic Cars, well, you can go on their website, which is www.manhoodclassiccars.com, and on there you can find all kinds of information about upcoming events and classic cars for sale and all manner of stuff. So if you need to know more, get on there and have a look, because there's an awful lot going on. And now, back to the studio.
Thank you, gentlemen. They are really magnificent pieces of machinery and well worth a visit. Right then, hopefully Keith has managed to cycle back, so let's see what's going on in Keith's kitchen.
And welcome once again to the kitchen. And we've got, as usual, a couple of nice recipes for you this week. And the first one is beef pepper pot stew. Well, it's probably still cold enough for a stew, and this will serve 4 people. And this is what we need: 450 grams of braising steak, 1.5 tablespoonsful of plain flour, 2 tablespoonsful of olive oil, 1 Spanish onion chopped, 3 to 4 garlic cloves crushed, 1 fresh green chilli deseeded and chopped, 3 celery sticks, and we need them sliced, 4 whole cloves, 1 teaspoonful of ground allspice, 1 to 2 teaspoonsful of hot pepper sauce, or to taste anyway. You may not want it too hot, or you might like it really spicy, so that's up to you. 600 ml of beef stock, 225 grams of deseeded and peeled squash cut into small chunks, 1 large red pepper deseeded and chopped, 4 tomatoes roughly chopped, 115 grams of okra trimmed and halved, and freshly cooked mixed wild and basmati rice to serve. And this is what we do. Trim any fat or gristle from the beef and cut into 2.5 centimetre chunks, and toss the beef into the flour until well coated, and reserve any remaining flour, so keep the remaining flour to one side. Heat the oil in a large heavy base saucepan and cook the onion, garlic, chilli and celery with the cloves and allspice, stirring frequently for about 5 minutes or until it's softened. Add the beef and cook over a high heat, stirring frequently for 3 minutes or until browned on all sides and sealed, and then sprinkle in the reserved flour and cook, stirring constantly for 2 minutes, then remove from the heat. Add the hot pepper sauce and gradually stir in the stock, and then return to the heat and bring to the boil, stirring while you're doing it. Reduce the heat, cover and simmer, stirring occasionally for 1.5 hours. Add the squash and red pepper to the saucepan and simmer for a further 15 minutes. Add the tomatoes and okra and simmer for a further 15 minutes or until the beef is tender, and then serve with the cooked mixed wild and basmati rice. Very nice stew. And pre my diabetic days, this next one would certainly be one of my favourites. It's caramelised lamb shanks. And now this will serve 4 people, and this is what we need: 4 tablespoonsful of clear honey, 1 tablespoonful of vegetable oil, 1 teaspoonful of dried thyme or oregano, 2 teaspoonsful of pepper, 1/2 teaspoonful of salt, 4 lamb shanks, about 400 grams each, 350 to 500 ml of stock, 1 head of garlic unpeeled, sliced in half across the centre, 1 onion quartered, 1 parsnip quartered lengthways, 4 small salad potatoes halved lengthways, and 4 small carrots. And this is what we do. Preheat the oven to 180 degrees centigrade. Mix together the honey, oil, thyme, pepper and salt and rub all over the lamb shanks. Place the lamb shanks in a roasting tin with 200 ml of the stock and the garlic and the onion. Cook in a preheated oven for an hour, turning the lamb after 30 minutes. Turn again and add the parsnip, potatoes, carrots and 150 ml of stock, and cook for a further 30 minutes and turn the lamb again. Add a little more stock if necessary and then cook for a further 15 minutes. Now, using a slotted spoon, transfer the meat and vegetables to a warm serving dish, and using kitchen paper remove any excess fat from the surface of the liquid in the tin. Place the tin over a medium heat and stir for a few seconds until the liquid is syrupy. Pour it over the meat and vegetables and serve immediately. Lovely.
Thank you, Keith. We're now all fueled up, so it's challenge time again as we hear what Kevin has on offer.
Hi there, Kevin the Quiz with this week's quiz questions. 5 questions, 5 answers. and there's something that connects all the answers. You have to find that connection. Question number 1, film question. Which character did Vivian Leigh play in the classic Gone with the Wind? Number 2, what was the name of the floorwalker played by Frank Thornton in Are You Being Served? What was his name? Question number 3, nice and easy. What colour usually is an emerald? Number 4, which snooker player has appeared in 6 world finals and lost every single one? And number 5, what condiment are Coleman's of Norwich most famous for? So 5 answers. What connects all the answers? Good luck.
Thank you, Kevin. And with that, we've come to the end of the show, so it just remains for me to thank all our contributors, including Local Life magazine, our sound editor, John Mallett, our presenters, Alison, Kevin and Keith, not forgetting, of course, our producer, John Fletcher. So it's goodbye from me, Tony Wiener. Until next time, bye.